Welcome back to the Common Elitist. My name is Amr Selassie, and today's topic is relationship, toxicity, and chaos. Are you addicted? So, like all my videos, I'm pretty excited about it. This is one of those, you've been living for quite a while, and you've experienced some things. And, when you settle down and partner up, you hopefully create relationships that doesn't have this particular dynamic to it, right? But that's what we all striving for. There's something I want to kind of discuss before we kind of go into the subject is what's a character of addiction? And when you look at the word addiction, what's related to it is tolerance, withdrawal, to rationalize what you're addicted to, the loss of willpower, and the preoccupation. So when we think about toxicity and chaos, the tolerance level for it, like some men have high tolerance levels for chaos, or withdrawal. What happens when you don't have it around you? How do you feel? Like, what do you go through when there's nothing toxic or nothing chaotic going on, right? Denial and rationality, and to rationalize things. So it's chaotic, it's toxic, it's a lot of toxicity, and you can rationalize why your husband is toxic or chaotic, why your girlfriend is chaotic, why your wife is chaotic, why your boyfriend is chaotic, or husband, right? And loss of willpower with addiction, and many people have suffered from it. It's not one of the mountains that I've climbed in my life, but what I've researched and studied, what I've seen is the loss of willpower. Like, that thing takes away from your free will, right? So if you're addicted to chaos or toxicity, then without it, with it, you don't have a life, and without it, life is not worth living. And the last thing is preoccupation. So if things aren't toxic, chaotic, there's no disorganization and dysfunction, then you preoccupy yourself with how to make it happen. That's probably unconscious. Like, nobody thinks, how can I make this workplace more dysfunctional? How can I make this marriage more dysfunctional? How can I make, my partnership more dysfunctional, or my parent-child relationship more dysfunctional? I don't think many people, unless you're a psychopath or sociopath, thinks those things. But the preoccupation would be with things that will cause toxicity and chaos. For example, maybe your girlfriend likes peace. She doesn't like going out a lot. She doesn't like a lot of company over. Maybe she doesn't like a lot of interaction with people. That's just who she is. She's more of an introvert. And you're more an extrovert. Now, you guys can get along just fine because that's a good balance, right? But if you purposely put her in situations where she's uncomfortable, not only that's probably not the best thing to do, but also you're creating a toxic, chaotic environment for her, and obviously for yourself too, right? So think of these 5 things: tolerance, withdrawal, to rationalize things, right? Loss of willpower and preoccupation. We're going to deal with those in these 11 short characteristics if you are addicted to toxicity and chaos in a relationship. Now, everybody has some of these. Doesn't matter who you are, you got some of these. Your husband got some, your boyfriend got some, your wife, fiance has some, right? But when you see them and they are a part of your life, the best thing for you to do is to fix them. If not fix them, suppress them. Because the relationship you in now could work or not work, but these things will follow. right? They'll follow you. So how do you know if you are addicted? Not like, not want, but addicted to toxicity and chaos in relationships. Here's 11 reasons, or 11 things that'll point to that. 1, why might you, and also this list is really about why you might be, I should say that, addicted to these things, because when you're addicted to something, it brings some sort of value to you. Now that value might be just a feel good, dopamine. You might just feel great. You might feel grounded. You might feel relieved because it's familiar to you. So this list is going to point to why you might be addicted to relationship toxicity and chaos. 1, afraid of being eventually rejected. Sounds like, why would I be afraid of being eventually rejected? And that pushes me to create chaos or toxicity, or draw myself to relationships like that. Because if you're in a chaotic, toxic relationship with a guy or a gal, you always got a reason why you're running. You always have a reason why you're upset. You always have a finger, an object to point to. So if you always have a reason why that person is wrong, or that person has issues, then you never have to be rejected. You're always the rejecter. So a lot of people that you're going to date, unfortunately, be in long-term relationships with, partner with, even friendships, right? You try to figure out why they love trouble, why they love chaos so much when they say they don't want it, but they always attracted to it. It's because they're afraid of being eventually rejected. As long as they got something on another person, this guy right here, he ain't got a job, he ain't worth nothing, but I'm dating him, she can always reject him, right? As long as he's, making lower income, maybe he doesn't have a car, he's always has this handicap that you can reject him. You don't have to worry about him. So a lot of times, you don't have to worry about him relieving you. So a lot of times people are creating relationships where the person is dependent or codependent because they feel like it's a greater chance that that person won't leave them alone. But if you're creating a relationship just based off of the fact of fear of loss, then you're going to eventually be rejected. But maybe not. But you're in a relationship where this person is 40% where they're supposed to be at. You can reject them, but why would you be in a relationship with a person hoovering at 40% of their potential? Just so you feel like you won't ever be rejected. So that toxicity and chaos is a side effect of the fact that you keep putting yourself in situations that's less than ideal because you don't really want to be rejected. And that's probably dealing with some childhood issues. 2, you're expecting the worst, but you do the most. So you expect the worst. So I'm pretty sure this ain't the gal for me. She don't got certain things, or, we have these situations or circumstances that are not ideal. And, maybe she can't cook like my mother. Maybe she doesn't dress the way I want her to dress. Maybe she doesn't have an education. So I'm just gonna be out here hanging out. She tell me don't do it, I'm gonna do it anyway. What's she gonna do? Right? So a lot of times you already expect that the relationship ain't gonna last. You already expect that you're gonna be by yourself. So you expect the worst out of relationships. Expect the worst. Men ain't nothing, they dogs. Women, they ain't nothing. But you're doing the most. So you're putting yourself in a situation where it has to be toxic because you're already thinking it's going to be. So everything this person does, you're probably like, oh, see, I told you. He ain't called me in 4 hours. I told you. He ain't about nothing. Or, man, she, man, it's toys all over the house again. Oh, I can't deal with this. But then you're doing the most. So while you're not pointing fingers at their imperfections, you create more chaos yourself. And you would see that that's you just can't win with that. And if that's an attitude that a man has, right, it's not a healthy place to be in a partnership. It's just not, man. So if you are doing that, you're expecting the worst out of this woman, or you're expecting the worst out of this man, but you're doing the most, it's toxic and it's chaotic, and there's just no way of having peace in that. 3, you keep your partner in a low vibration. We don't talk about vibration a lot. We just say, we got good vibes and all those things like that. But vibration is really a mindset. And if you always keeping your partner in a low vibration, a guy who's always putting himself in a situation where the woman is worried about him. He don't answer his phone for, 5 or 6 hours, and he's gone. Or a guy who doesn't decide that he wants to just keep a job. Or a man who's in and out of jail. How about a very, very successful man, right? You got your stuff together, but you're all over the place, right? You got randoms. So you keeping your partner in the low vibration because she might like you or love you, have your kids, but she's always worried about what's going on. And some people like that. Like if you're in a low vibration, they're comfortable. You get in a high vibration, they're insecure. And that goes back to afraid of being rejected. They don't want you to reject them. So if they keep in low vibration, then more likely, if anybody gonna be rejecting, it's gonna be them to you. Then it brought you down all the way. So if you're keeping your partner in a low vibration on purpose, then you're toxic. And you have a lot of chaos about you, man or woman, right? The thing is, you want people around you to be in a highest vibration. You can manifest things quicker. You have more peace, a longer life, less wear and tear on the mind and the body, and just an overall better state of happiness. If you got to survive off of toxicity and chaos in yourself or your partner, that's being a vulture. Vultures survive off of death and accidents, right? Something dies, they eat. So how many relationships got to die for you to eat? If that's the case, toxicity and chaos, you might be addicted to it. Number 4, insecurity masking as dominance, right? A lot of women have came across men like this, right? It's, I'm the man, you know what I'm saying? But then that's the only masculine trait you got is boastfulness and dominance. Without protection, rationality, stoicism, the ability to see things for what they are, spirituality, your connection to the Most High, that's a masculine trait. All these things are missing. Your only dominance is, I'm a man. Well,
males are born, men are made, 100%.
So insecurity masking as dominance is a person is really insecure about you leaving. It goes back to being rejected. Or they're insecure about the fact that things are peaceful. Like if you're in a relationship and it's peaceful, there's no drama. He on the couch watching football. You making the kids food. The kids is happy. Bills paid, maybe not a lot of savings, right? Things are going smooth, and you start getting antsy. Okay, what's about to happen? Let me go check his phone real quick. This is 2. Go check his phone. Where you going? Right? When you start doing things like that, man, that will start creating toxicity. So sometimes it's not about insecurity of the individual, but you insecure with the very peace that that individual brings you, because you're used to toxicity and chaos. There's something wrong with just normalness. You think it's boredom, right? Oh man, he bought me flowers. He drops me off. He says good morning. He says he cares about me. We walk the mall and he buys me things. You know, but it just ain't no spark there. You know what that spark is? Chaos. You know what he's missing? He's missing chaos. You know, he needs a little bit of that garbage in him. Or she's a wonderful woman. She don't go out. She's to herself. She's pleasant, right? Dresses modestly. She's all these characteristics that you say you want in a woman. Yeah, just something about her, man. You know what's about her? She ain't toxic. And you need a little bit of that. You should be honest. So insecurity masking as dominance. You're just insecure because you're going to be dominant about the situation. Now, those things are just addictions to... You are fearful of the peace, of the normalcy, and you're addicted to the chaos, and you need that integrated into the relationships and people. But insecurity masking as dominance is you saying, well, you know, I need to make sure I control all the bills as a man. Because I'm the man, I'm gonna make sure the bills paid, right, baby? I'm gonna give you some money, you know what I'm saying? I'm gonna hit you off, boom, 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 okay? You wanna make sure you do everything in order to keep dominance because you're really insecure about where you are, right? Number 5, need to be in control and in a dominant position. It's the same thing. You need to control everything. So a lot of times people have had so much toxicity and chaos in their relationships that they've caused a lot of it, right? Or it came from it. It's integrated into their thinking or thought process. Is that they need to control everything. People. Absolute everything. And what that does is that causes more chaos. Because especially if you deem yourself as an alpha anything. If you're an alpha male, very few alpha males. And that term is thrown around a lot, and it's usually somebody who pretty much don't take stuff. It's not an alpha male. Alpha men take plenty of stuff. Alpha female is a woman who has certain things and she doesn't take stuff. So a lot of women who has things and doesn't take stuff doesn't make it alpha, right? Matter of fact, alpha it's a far left or far right. Well, most people need some sort of balance. Even within a man who's totally alpha is not good marriage material. He will not be good boyfriend material. He will need a totally submissive female just to even work. A normal female cannot be with an alpha male. 100%. So if you need to be in control of the situation, then you have to be with somebody who doesn't need to be in control of the situation. But if both people need some sort of independence, control, you know, here and there, then it's going to be toxic. It's going to be chaotic because you can't control everything and not create chaos. People are independent souls, independent spirits with their own ideas and understandings. And when you feel like, okay, I'm going to go ahead and, you know, put all the pieces here and move these pieces here, chaotic, man, toxic. Everyone else sees you got your shit together, right? Right? Because they're seeing maybe the fruits of labor. But you know how many men who are just super successful, but they by themselves? Or how many women who are extremely pleasant to the eyes for some people and they by themselves? Why? And they're only saying, I got a degree, I got this, I got this. Nobody can. Need to control everything. Right? Toxic. Number 6, hurt, pain, anger makes you feel alive. This is a big one. Every man has experienced this. And a lot of times, men are friend zoned because of this. Like, because I give you no pain and suffering, then I don't give you that feeling, right? So you have to ask yourself, if a man has to make me feel bad for me to be interested in him, can it in any way be healthy? Now, when we work out, if you don't feel it, that strain, or if you don't feel that strain, the pull, the soreness the next day, you know there wasn't really a good workout. I understand that. But you do that in order, but you understand that that strain is building muscle. You understand when you run those miles that your legs are going to hurt, you're going to be tired and out of breath, but you understand it's building your lungs up and your capabilities up. So, as a woman, that man who gives you pain, does that pain make you grow? Be a better one, or does it make you feel safe? Pain makes you feel safe. Why? Pain should make you feel safe. Anger, him, hanging up on you and cussing you out, doesn't make him alpha, doesn't mean he's confident, means he's toxic. And you're addicted to toxicity. Where did it come from? Hurt, pain, anger shouldn't make you feel alive. And that goes back to some of the people who, in peace becomes boredom, or peace becomes something's missing. Integrate some hurt, pain, and anger. Matter of fact, if you go on a manosphere and you look at a lot of these videos, a lot of men will say that. They'll say they purposely integrate different emotions in their relationship so that they can keep the fire. And that's a shame. That's like you purposely screaming at your kids just to make sure they know you dominant. Why? Your kids you ain't gonna wait till they do something, you're just gonna scream. So it's crazy. So if you need hurt, pain, anger, some sort of chaos and toxicity, you're addicted to it. You might have your things together from an education perspective. You might have your stuff together from many different avenues, but the truth of the matter is, look at yourself. Man's nice, you don't want him. Gal's nice, you don't want him. You want the one that's going to give you trouble. That's a different addiction. I'm not trying to be judgmental. It's what it is. Number 7, it's your comfort place. I'm not going to talk too much on that. That's just what it is. Peace, stability, foundationally sound, matureness of conversation, goals, aspirations. Those things are cool, but you need a little bit of that toxicity and chaos to feel comfortable. If you made a good meal, right? Well, there's another analogy to this, but I'll say this. If you make a meal and you need to sprinkle just a little bit of poison on that meal to make it edible. Would that make sense? You know, answer that. All right, number 8. Why you might be addicted to toxicity and chaos is creating a childhood environment. Childhood environment, you seen mommy and daddy, having issues is not your fault. And maybe they outgrew it. Maybe they split and divorced. Maybe they ain't together no more. Maybe they mature past it, but it got ingrained into your being. So when, you're mad at your wife, you scream and throw stuff. Or you leave for 4 days. Or maybe, if you're mad at your husband, you scream it to the top of your lungs. Maybe you call everybody and tell them how much of a, bad person he is. So you're creating this childhood environment and it's replaying and you don't understand how it's replaying. And you're comfortable with it. That's your comfort place. Because I can assure you, a lot of men and women who, even if they have a partner that's totally different than what they experience, some women and men, they love it. But unfortunately, sometimes they bring that childhood environment into the relationship, and you don't know what you're dealing with. All you think is just, hey man, I'm sorry, not a big deal. And and it's nothing that you can do. That's therapy. And the guy, if they split and goes do something else, he or she's gonna deal with the same issue, right? Right. Just understand that's toxic, it's chaotic, and that's what therapy is for. Number 9, relationship toxicity and chaos. Are you addicted? You are now your ex. How am I saying it? You are now your ex. Because, man, your ex was wilding out, man. You know, the guy who chased you down in the car? Or the girl who scratched the car up? Or the one who would drink alcohol and just turn to something totally different? She gets super wild, angry, aggressive, or he start wanting to fight. Or your ex maybe had none of those issues, but they were sneaky and passive aggressive. They didn't fight head on. They didn't know how to communicate. They did other stuff to pee you off. Maybe drained the bank account. Maybe, left no gas in the car, things of that nature. So sometimes when we in these relationships, we find ways of dealing with the environment we in. But just like anything else, you pick up on it. It becomes your tool. So if you're not careful enough in toxic and chaotic relationships, you start using those same characteristics and tools. Now all of a sudden, you didn't like the guy who got in your face. But then you with this other guy, now you all in his face. You didn't like the gal who, did threw things in the house. Or you didn't like the girl who did specific things to you. But now you find yourself doing those same things. Y'all get mad at each other, you send in a voicemail. You don't talk it out. So I'm saying you are now your ex. So that person was toxic and chaotic and you left them and everybody said you should have did that and you realized, it wasn't a good fit for you. Now you're doing the same thing. So you have to be careful with picking up bad traits from your friends too, because your friends will lead you astray. You see your guy friend and he got, his wife and 4 sides. Leave, and if you follow that guy, he's gonna lead you astray. And if you're a woman and you got 4 female friends, 2 of them divorced, 2 of them are single, you can be led astray before you know it. So understand that we can turn to not just our current environment if we're not careful when there's bad influences, but we also can turn to our exes and things that we left in the past. 10, I mentioned this before, you need therapy. If you're addicted to toxicity and chaos, if you don't feel comfort and peace, if you need a little bit of poison in your dinner, if you got to keep your partner in a low vibration, if they're happy, they're content, if they're doing good and making strives to be better, you got to knock them back down to place. If you're afraid of being rejected, or you need to totally control the situation because you're insecure, or you need hurt, pain, anger, it makes you feel alive. It makes you feel like if y'all not fighting and y'all not pissed off, you don't feel passion, and it's your comfort place, it's therapy. Therapy, every time we communicate, like me now, there's an exchange of energy. And a lot of times, all you need to do is to release those thoughts and those feelings to a person. And unlike your friend, who of you say, this is what my husband is doing to me, they'll take it and shift it back to you. They'll take the information you have and give you advice but then it changes your dynamic with that person and now your husband too. But a therapist can take your information and show it to you and figure out what you can do better or how to deal with this, versus be your friend and say, oh, your husband ain't crap, or your wife, no, that she ain't crap. So therapy is not the same thing as venting to your friends. It's not the same exchange of energy. What they're doing is pulling it out of you so you can deal with it. Where friends a lot of times aren't pulling it out of you. They're taking it and giving it back to you. Yeah. So number 10, you need therapy. Number 11, I mean, it goes without saying, when we talked about, tolerance, withdrawal, denial, loss of willpower when it comes to addiction and being preoccupied. 11 is just simple. You are toxic and chaotic. So it's not that you're afraid of being rejected, although it could be, or it's insecure, or it's your comfort place. You toxic. And I'm not saying this to be mean, so I'm just saying to say, if you feel like you are, then you can change. That's the good part about it. You can change. But you ain't changing by spreading that to your relationships. Because ultimately, toxicity and being chaotic is an energy. It's a mental energy. It's really a heart energy. It just affects your mind. So a lot of times, being toxic and chaotic is a heart issue. Something got damaged along the way. May not even be your fault. But it's good to know if you are. Because we all are in some ways. I am. Everybody around me is in some ways. But to steal doesn't necessarily mean you're a thief, if that makes sense. Right? So read back on or listen back to what I'm stating. How can you fix it? Just deal with each number. Understand that if it's really a heart issue that's causing you to be toxic or to display toxic, chaotic traits, then you have to deal with the heart issue and the mind issue that it causes. It's nothing to be ashamed of, but you do have to be realistic with yourself. If you start seeing the same patterns, if the guy 15 years ago said something about you, and this guy in 2022 said the same thing about you, then maybe that's a good thing to deal with, right? So addictions in itself, you gain a tolerance for it. You eventually get, tolerance for chaos. You don't even feel it. You don't feel it. Everybody else does. You withdraw when you don't have it. You rationalize why every guy you get with is terrible, or every girl you get with is terrible. It doesn't make sense. And you got a loss of willpower. That means if it ain't toxic, it ain't attractive. And you're preoccupied with, if it ain't toxic, I'm gonna make it that way. All right, so I appreciate you listening to this video, and I'll see you next time.